I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. It's hot out there and crazy with all the construction.
Yeah, it's a little warm.
Yeah. So we've heard fighters talk about the heat before, just cutting weight. I know you're familiar with Vegas. It's not a deal for you, but does that affect you when you come into a place with extreme weather like this?
No, not at all. I've been living in southern Florida, and it's not quite as hot, but the humidity is way higher, so the dry heat is not that bad. And I lived most of my life in Wisconsin, which is the opposite. Yep. So I'm no stranger to extreme weather either way.
Do you feel like maybe fighters are using that as an excuse, the weather? When they say that they have issues cutting weight because of the weather or whatever it is that
someone actually said that? How would you have an issue?
Last week we had somebody say that.
If the object is to sweat to make weight, how would being hot? That makes no sense.
I thought the same thing, but that's what they said.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna throw them under the bus, but
yeah. I don't know. They should talk to the PI because clearly they're cutting weight the wrong way.
So can you just tell me about this fight coming up? What were your first thoughts when you heard the name? Were you excited, kind of disappointed? What were your thoughts when you heard the name?
I was excited. It's a good fight. It's a tough fight. Edmen's got a good name. He's been in the UFC for a while already, and I think that's a good fight for both of us.
How do you see this fight going? I know you guys all prepare for 3 rounds, but do you anticipate it going the full 3 rounds, or do you think this will be a quick fight?
I don't know. I know whether it's a quick fight or whether it takes to the 3rd round, it's going to be intense either way because neither of us are known for like boring fights necessarily. So it'll be exciting either way.
What sort of I know you can't tell us your game plan, but what sort of preparation did you do for him specifically that maybe you haven't done in some of your past fights, if at all?
Nothing that I haven't done. I mean, if I haven't trained every which way you can after this many fights, I'd be doing something wrong. So, he does have some present unique challenges outside of, any other individual, but it's not anything that's so far off of what I have, been up against in the past.
And I've heard fighters kind of split. Some people say they cater their camp towards their opponent and change it every time depending on who you're fighting. Others say they fight for themselves. They fight, the way they want the fight to go. Which camp are you in?
There's definitely, styles make fights, and there's definitely easier and harder ways to win a fight. But for sure, I try to make sure that I make as few mistakes as possible. It's hard to beat a guy that doesn't make mistakes, right? So that would be the most important one. And then after that, it's, what do you think is the most efficient way to victory? And, some guys you play on the outside, some guys you press them, and then, take one of those 2 basic approaches and then go from there.
What did you think of the middleweight title fight this last weekend?
It was good fight. It's fun to watch. I was one of the few people who picked DDP to win. I just, I think people hate on his style because it doesn't look aesthetically the way they think it should. So when people say oh, he's not good or he makes whatever mistakes, it's you got to stop thinking about fights in terms of how it looks to you or how you think it should look, and how effective is it. And he's very effective. You know what I mean? Just because it doesn't look coordinated to you, or he doesn't look like he's super fast or whatever, he's a big guy, he goes forward and he fights, and it works. And when you have a guy that refuses to stop going forward versus somebody who needs distance and generally fights, throwing circular strikes and punches, the guy that comes in and closes the distance is generally going to have the better end of it, unless he gets stuck on the outside. And he didn't get stuck on the outside, so he won.
Last night, Dana White described it as DDP fighting like a white guy dances.
Yeah, that's, again, but if it works, it works. It doesn't got to look pretty as long as you accomplish the goal. So that's off to him.
I'm just curious if you had an opinion about the little squabble between Marvin and Brendan last weekend. Did you hear about that?
I don't know.
PFL?
I saw somebody who looked like someone I know, but it's, Brendan Allen, if that's who you're talking about, him and my buddy Tuco, they were at my house. We were just chilling, watching stuff. they weren't even at the casino, so I don't know. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hey, Gerald. Now that you've been at Killcliff for a minute, how has the transition to that big gym been for you?
I think it's been great. You know, I got along great with everybody there when I first came. I've been living in there for about a year. I've been doing camps longer than that there. Great staff, great people. You know, I help out now. I teach grappling on Fridays, so far it's been a great fit.
Do you regret not going sooner, or is it kind of like all hindsight's 2020 because of your, you know, of Rufus and all your history there?
Yeah, I mean, you know, woulda, coulda, shoulda. If I had gone sooner, maybe it wouldn't have been as good. Like, who knows? You know what I mean? That stuff doesn't really matter. The only thing that makes me regret not going sooner is that when I moved, it was like the worst possible time to like buy a house with interest rates and just prices and everything. But outside of that, is, you know, everything happens for a reason.
That's one of your thoughts on CGI versus ADCC as someone who loves grappling. Like, was it nice seeing a Craig Jones take a stance against ADCC?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't know any more about the politics behind it than anybody else as far as all the videos goes. He's hilarious, so like he did a great job marketing. And like there was really tough people on both cards, and I think, you know, if you truly believe in the power of free market capitalism, competition is the best thing for everybody. So, you know, they both put on great events. They both had really tough grapplers, and I think anytime you can get people in the sport like that paid, like, you know, even if it doesn't look like it'll be a one-off deal, but even if it was, like, who cares? You got some of the best guys in the world are finally like getting real money that they can, you know, live off of and set themselves up with off of actual competition, and not just like residual sales around the idea that they compete. You know what I mean?
Would you be down to do CGI 2025?
Hell yeah. I mean, I don't think I'd do that well because they just grapple, but I would still do it. Yeah, for sure.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Just following up that, do you have any plans to do any more? I know you've been doing some grappling matches in between. Do you have any plans to do any grappling anytime soon?
I have no plans to do anytime soon, but I'm certainly open to the idea, yeah.
Was there any kind of, and I use the word comfort loosely, that you said, okay, this guy's going to come at me, we're going to stand and put on a show and maybe even steal a show, and you know, any kind of like just a good thought about that, like, okay, Edmen's going to come right here, stand in the middle, I don't have to worry about like a wrestle heavy approach or like, oh man, now I got to adjust for these 25 minutes or 15 minutes that are going to be long, but you know he's going to step in the middle of the ring, you put on great fights doing that, and might even be a finish.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know exactly what he's going to do, right? Like, he might play the distance on the outside, but, like, I know for a fact when the going gets tough, he's going to fight back. Like, he's not just going to shell up. Like, I know people have said, like, you know, his cardio gets suspect in the later rounds, but even then, like, it's not one-way traffic. You know what I mean? If I get in his face, he's going to swing back. He does some decent work, like elbowing and throwing big knees off clinches. And, you know, he's tough. He's matured as a fighter, and he's not just going to, you know, I'm not going to be able to just shoot, take him down, and choke him. You know what I'm saying? And he's not just, you know, he's going in there to win, too. So that's what I mean by that is, like, I know I want to win. He wants to win. I know what my plan is, and at a certain point, you know, you get two guys going forward, bumping heads, we're going to start throwing, and something's going to happen.
Oh, can't wait. On paper, it just looks fantastic. Was there anything, you know, he's not a small guy, obviously, for the division. Any specific training partners you had to come in for this one and say, okay, give me that. Give me those looks. He's long. He likes to, you know, fight that way. Give me those angles.
No, I mean, we got so many good guys at Killcliff, plenty of lanky right-handed strikers. So, you know, I didn't need to, like, bring it. That's the nice thing about being at a gym like Killcliff is that you don't need to bring anybody in. And then there's enough high-level guys with different looks that, you know, you can prepare for anything, right? Like, you know, on paper, would you expect him to shoot? No, but he could. You know what I mean? Even threatening the takedown, you know, as an attempt to throw me off isn't necessarily the worst idea. So, you know, we'll see what happens.
I'm sure when he watches this video, he's like, okay, I'm going to shoot.
Yeah, right off the glove touch shoot, yeah.